Time to review the next thing I found at the thrift store because nobody wanted it. Sparky's Magic Piano. Another film that requires some explanation. Once again, we need to go back to the 1940s, as Sparky was a character created in 1947 by Capitol Records. He was the star of a series of records featuring stories for children that incorporated musical numbers. Only 6 albums were produced despite it being pretty popular at the time, but Sparky also made appearances in comic books, featuring the purveyor of your nightmares, Bozo the Clown. However, in 1987, Sparky was resurrected in the form of an animated movie based on the most popular of the albums, The Magic Piano. They even boast having the voice talents of the legendary Mel Blanc on the cover of the tape. Whoa, sweet! Alright, let's get into it. Here's Sparky's Magic Piano. So Sparky is just an average boy whose parents make him take piano lessons when he'd rather be outside playing baseball.
His mother insisted that he practice 1 hour every day when he would rather be outside playing baseball.
What's this? A child wants to play outside? Ugh, we can't have that. But the constant pressure of being forced to do things he's not interested in is starting to get to him.
Practice, practice, practice. That's all I ever hear. I hate you, piano. You hear? I hate you.
Yes, I hear you, Sparky.
Peter Frampton? Is that you? So yeah, out of nowhere, the piano starts talking. Well, as long as this isn't a love story, I'm okay with it. So the piano tells him that it can play anything and will let Sparky act like he's the one playing. The music catches the attention of his mother, and immediately she thinks he's a prodigy. I can't see this going horribly wrong. So then Sparky's mom calls his piano instructor over to see his new talent.
Play something for Miss Pickett.
How about Fantasy Impromptu?
Chopin's Fantasy Impromptu? Oh, come now, Sparky.
Can you do a piano?
Yes, Sparky.
So no one else just heard the piano talk? Okay then. Also, why isn't his instructor suspicious of this? At the beginning of the movie, she scolded him for not practicing enough.
Have you been practicing every day?
Well, you see,
You haven't, have you?
And then she faints when she hears him now. I guess we're not going to question any of this. Then Sparky's mom gets his dad.
Martha, have you gone crazy?
He can, I tell you.
You dragged me away from my office for some kind of a joke? What's the...
Henry, just listen.
Is that Vincent Price? It is Vincent Price! Why are you in this? You should be helping the Scooby Gang travel the world trapping ghosts in a Satan box.
You dragged me away from my office for some kind of a joke? What's the...
Henry, just listen. Be quiet and listen.
All right. Go ahead, boy wonder. Let's get this nonsense over with.
Yes, Sparky, as we know, you're not good at anything and a total disappointment to this family. So Dad of the Year hears the music and can't believe his son might actually have talent. Even though he really doesn't. Though to the guy's credit, he at least questions it. I like how he searches all over to see if it's a trick or not. But then he finally accepts that his idiot son might actually be good at something. Again, even though he technically isn't. It's kind of hard to pick a side in this movie. Then they talk about Sparky performing at concerts, because when a parent finds out their kid is good at something, they immediately want to exploit them.
It's one thing to play for us in the living room. But what would happen to him if he were to play in concert halls, in front of huge audiences? No telling how all of that would affect him. What about his education? I'm sorry. But for now, he will remain in school. So any idea about Sparky playing on a concert tour is out of the question.
You know, even though he's kind of a jerk, the dad does have a point. God, this movie's giving me all kinds of conflicting emotions. Well, despite his father's wishes, Sparky's mom and his instructor set up a concert and he has to play in front of a crowd. You know, I'm having trouble saying that he's playing because he's not. He's faking. It's the piano playing through whatever voodoo is going on here. Now I know what you're thinking. There's no way he'll be able to, for the sake of simplicity, play a concert because it's the piano playing the music and not him. Well, they actually moved the piano from their home because he insisted on it. Nope, nothing unusual about that. Let's just roll with it and move a freaking piano to another town at great expense and effort to ourselves.
There must be 100 people out there.
Yeah, they all look thrilled.
We are covering this concert only because our editor insisted.
Hi, Mel. Glad you can finally join us 13 minutes into this movie.
Who is this Sparky anyway? I never heard of him. He's only 8 years old. Another child prodigy. Nothing worse than a little kid at the piano.
A child being good at something? Ugh, never heard of it.
For my first number, I shall play Beethoven's Sonata Pathétique.
Watch him murder Beethoven. Anything I can't stand is a child prodigy.
I hate everyone in this movie. And they got me to hate a Mel Blanc character. That's actually pretty impressive. But Sparky plays, impresses everyone, word spreads about his talent, he becomes famous and performs all across the country. And I like to once again point out that they keep moving the piano. Yeah, I guess it's good he became famous. I can't imagine how much money this is costing. So here's the thing about this movie. It has a lot of padding. A good chunk of this movie is just classic piano music. It's nice, I suppose, but it takes up most of the runtime. And while it's playing, they show stuff that doesn't fit the music. At the beginning of the movie, while Sparky was playing, it showed his parents having comedic yet nonchalant reactions. When Sparky's dad finds out they went on tour despite his protests, he drives off after them, and they play classical music while he has car trouble and a bunch of other stuff happens to him. Because that's what I think of when I hear classical music. Some guy having a bad day. Anyway, Sparky becomes more and more famous, and as you'd expect, it goes to his head. Whoa, he even goes full Liberace. It's worse than we thought.
What would you like for dessert, Master Sparky?
I'll have a chocolate sundae with pistachio ice cream, and some raspberries on the top, and some nuts too, and plenty of whipped cream, with a cherry on top of that, and bring the same for my dog, Beans.
For the dog?
Yes, for my dog. He has a first-class seat too, doesn't he? Now hurry it up, if you don't mind.
And don't give me any of that nonsense about chocolate being poisonous to dogs. You will do as I say, or so help me God, I will toss you off this plane with my bare hands! Ugh. Why must a celebrity have to deal with these peasants?
Sparky was becoming more spoiled than ever, but Mom and Miss Pickett did not seem to notice.
We're making money, so who cares? Eventually, Sparky's dad catches up with them in New York, and he demands that they come home.
All right, young man, you get off those silly clothes and get into your blue jeans. You're coming home with me.
Now, Father, you have to understand I cannot do that. You see, I'm a musical genius, and I need to continue my concert tour. I cannot disappoint my audience.
Why, you spoiled little brat. What you need is a good spank.
Henry!
Okay, that was just not cool. After that moment of almost child abuse, the piano tells Sparky that he doesn't like how he's been acting.
I don't like the way you've been acting.
Not now, later. We'll talk later. Now play, everyone's waiting.
All right. But you'd better change your attitude.
Or else what? Well, let's just say I know the piano from Mario 64. Sparky's dad bumps into those music critics, voiced by Mel Blanc, who have barely been in the movie, and they suspect that Sparky might be tricking everyone, because despite being unlikable, they're the only people in this movie with some brains. So at the next concert in Washington, D.C., they plan to swap the piano with an identical one, but Sparky finds out about it and swaps the pianos back. So this whole thing was completely pointless. Kinda like this movie. The concert night comes and everyone, including the president, shows up. Sparky plays the piano like normal, whatever that means, and the critic guy watches him play and loses his mind. I think. Or maybe he's just having a stroke. It's kinda hard to tell. But then the inevitable happens. The piano gets fed up with Sparky and his pompous attitude and suddenly stops playing. Sparky freaks out, everyone starts laughing at him, and President Reagan is not amused. Oh no, how's he gonna get out of this one? Wait, what? What the... What?
What's the matter with you?
I don't know. I guess I was...
It was a dream? Are you kidding me? They pulled the worst cliche ever? So yeah, none of it actually happened. And suddenly Sparky wants to practice the piano for some reason. Also, his parents seem like nice people outside of his dream. Everything we know is a lie.
Sparky went back to practicing. I guess it wasn't a magic piano after all.
The piano is evil! Burn it! So that was Sparky's magic piano. You know, for an animated movie from 1987 based on an 18.5-minute record for kids from the 1940s, it wasn't very good. I feel like criticizing this movie is pointless considering it was all a dream, but I got time to fill, so I'm gonna do it anyway. First off, the animation is about as cheap as it got for the time. It's like a few levels above Schoolhouse Rock. But overall, it just felt like a big, padded waste of time. And even though it all turned out to be a dream, it felt so mean-spirited. Sparky was a brat, his mom tried to exploit him, his dad was a jerk, and the critic guy was an asshole. Speaking of which, Mel Blanc was barely in this movie. You had a voice acting legend and you wasted him. And while we're at it, you wasted Vincent Price too. There was no reason for him to be in this movie. And what's sad is that they both had scenes together and it was incredibly underwhelming. And they had the gall to give Mel Blanc top billing on the front of the tape. How dare you? I was trying to figure out why this whole thing was a dream, and the best reason I could come up with is maybe it's about Sparky's fear of disappointment. He was kind of forced to learning the piano against his will, which I still don't care for, and it might explain why his parents seem so drastically different inside his dream, like how his mom seemed to exploit him and his dad had a bit of a temper, but in reality they seemed relatively normal. But I might be overthinking this. I should mention that I did find and listen to the audio from the original record on the internet. Even though the movie is a lot longer, it is a pretty faithful adaptation, even the part where the whole thing turned out to be a dream. I've gone on record saying that adaptations should be as close to the source material as possible, but sometimes the source material wasn't very good in the first place. I just don't see what the point of this movie was. I want to say fans of classical music might enjoy it, especially since they got some actual talented musicians to do the music, and it was very nice. But you might as well just track down the music itself to listen to and just skip this movie. Well, I guess one of these was bound to be bad. Alright, I got one more tape left over from the thrift store, so let's try to end this on a high note. You know, I haven't even looked at it yet. I wonder what it is. Trolls? Oh no!
They float, Georgie. safe.